Hello guys, welcome back to the Cinematic Mike channel. Today I'm going to be discussing the HBO show The Last of Us. Not only that, I'm going to be discussing the video game also. I am going to say this, I'm having a lot of problems with the show in the video game for certain reasons, and that's what's going to be discussed in this video. So I'm going to tell you, if you're a Last of Us fan and you don't like criticism over this special, precious video game of yours, then you might not want to watch it. So you can stay or you guys can just go, but I'm just gonna say some things of why, in my personal opinion, why I have a problem with it. So to you guys, all the other ones, I would be careful out there saying anything bad about The Last of Us because it's the same thing as like Marvel. You can't talk bad about Marvel either. So be careful out there because I had I had a wild experience in these past 2 weeks and till today of things that I'm saying and people are coming at me. Let's talk about what I was gonna say. You see, so The Last of Us is a video game that was brought out in 2013 by Neil Druckmann. I never played this game at all. I'm gonna say that right now. And it was a very popular video game. A lot of people in my friends, family, all over the internet, everyone would talk about this video game, The Last of Us. To me, it was being brought up by friends and family like, hey, you'll love it because it's a really cinematic storytelling and all that, I never judged it because I never played the game. I never ever played the game. But I heard about how good it was, and as I said in my other video, I did a review on HBO's The Last of Us, the pilot episode. I did say it was good. I did bring up some things that I noticed, but I said it was good. It was entertaining. But for me, it was kind of like already kind of cliche into the genre that we've been kind of fed already. So I didn't play this game because I stopped playing games a while back when I had to get really discipline myself to focus on graduating and all that because video games can get addicting. And I made this rule to not play a game, and then ever since I made that rule, I never went back. I think I could get caught in wasting my time on doing that when I could be doing more productive things. So I these people always told me about how cinematic it was, how they told me because they know I love film, they know I love movies and all. They're like, dude, I know you like this kind of stuff. I know you fall in love with it. So I was always like, cool. I was always interested, but I was never gonna get the console. I was never gonna get the game. But I always heard it. I'm like, one day maybe I'll play the game. Time went on and I still would hear it. Then the talk about it becoming a show came up, and one of my nephews, he's a big fan of the games too. So I saw that and I was kind of happy. I was like, oh, cool. So I was more happy for my nephew and my friends because they're into that. And I'm like, but then again, I thought about it. I'm like, it's cool for me to see it. This is the way I would want to see it. Everyone said it's a great story. I gotta see it. Yeah, I gotta see it. I gotta play it, to understand, to feel it. It's one of the greatest things out there. Now, I am going to give a warning that there might be some spoilers here that are for the video game The Last of Us, the HBO pilot show The Last of Us, the second episode, Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 Children of Men. So if you guys don't want any spoilers to that, then probably don't watch the video and see it. I don't know, this is just the pilot, the second one, and some things from the game. I haven't got that far into spoilers, but I did spoil one thing, which was already in the second episode, and I try not to get further than that because I'm like, I don't want to know everything. So yeah, so that's a warning right there. I already said how the fan base of The Last of Us really gets offended by you criticizing one little bit of this video game or the TV show. So I give you that warning. I looked on Twitter to find some things out from back then to find proof because of things that people were saying it's not true, which I made the connection, which a lot of people around the world made some of the connections, which I'm glad because they're smart. And I saw someone that said, be careful. They said, be careful saying anything about The Last of Us because this is their validation to the greatest game or something like that, to think it's something. I saw something where it was called the Citizen Kane of all video games, and I'm gonna get to basically this whole video is gonna be why I don't agree with that at all. The greatest adaptation of video games. They said that this is their validation to say that this is a narrative storytelling, something that's unmatched to television or movies, film. And there's a problem with that already, even in the pilot episode, which is what we all noticed. And it's not really anything different from what we have already seen in film. So this wasn't anything new narrative right here. I posted something recently on my social media, and it was a post from someone who said I love the show. I love the pilot episode. It's really good, but let's be honest, isn't this just Children of Men? And someone in my social media that I always have like debates with, or always want. I don't think this person likes what I say every time I'm criticizing films or Marvel films, because I still have like comments from back years back where this person is always like writing on it and getting kind of like defensive over what I'm criticizing. And when I posted this not that long after, he's like, no, it's not, and I took it like in a way like, okay, it has nothing to do with it then, but I already had my backup. I already did the research, and everyone who saw the pilot episode connected it to Children of Men. I said in my pilot episode review of The Last of Us, I said it right there. I'm like, I could see Children of Men in here. I could see a lot, some things that were from Children of Men. I noticed the car scene was from Children of Men. I'm like, you're basically taking that from Children of Men. It's okay. Like some people do that. Some directors sometimes want to pay an homage, but this whole thing's already the exact same thing. I even looked at stills of Children of Men later, and it made me think of that scene. And I'm like, wait, they did that in the pilot episode too. So when I had the proof that I found is there's an article by VentureBeat right here where it's Neil Druckmann actually being interviewed, and they're asking him Naughty Dog. They're asking him what was the inspiration for the Naughty Dog video game, The Last of Us, and he says that he walked into a theater, he saw Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 Children of Men, he loved it and said, why can't video games tell us narrative storytelling like that? So I want to put that in there. He also said that you could tell that we took a lot of inspiration from Children of Men for The Last of Us. So there's the proof right there to the people that are in denial. It's on VentureBeat. I think it's an article from 2018. It's right there. That was the proof. That's what I sent him. I haven't heard from that person ever since at all. And there's a lot of critics, a lot of articles out there that are aware that this is taking from Children of Men. And I'm not saying that's a big problem. I'll get into the problem, but I'm not saying too much of like, yeah, it kind of is a ripoff for me, but I'm not really, this isn't like, that's straight out, in a way, I guess, kind of. The only thing I knew about this game was that the cover was an older gentleman and a young girl. And I always thought it was a father and daughter story. I always thought it was something like that, which it kind of is, if you look at it. But I literally thought it was a father and daughter story. Like, if I didn't know is the whole thing, the way it plays out, I didn't know that whole story. So I knew because my nephew collected some of the stuff from The Last of Us, like pops or something of the video game would come out. My friends too, posters that I've seen and all that, thumbnails that I would see, all that stuff. So that's the only thing I knew. I knew it was kind of like an apocalyptic type of world, and I knew it was about this man and this young girl, and I knew there was something so sad and heartbreaking about it because nobody would stop talking about it. And I got interested, because everyone talked about it, and I love stories like that where they're kind of could get dark, heartbreaking. They have a scene where it's like the most impactful scene. And they were already talking about how it was cinematic. It was really like cinematic. And I got curious because of that reason, but I didn't know none of that stuff. So the reason I was really excited for the pilot was because of this reason, because it's been being talked to me so much. Like, hey, you gotta recommended it. They recommended it to me so much that I was like, I finally get to see what the story's all about, man. Let me see. Just all that hype kind of convinced me to like, believe all that. And I like shows. It was gonna be on made for television, TV, and we're in this era where it was like a big thing where storytelling on TV was like in this film shot and written like in a cinematic way, but more extended, I guess. This is why I never got into like television before, because mostly it was all more like sitcoms and all that stuff. And then when someone recommended like Game of Thrones and I don't know what else, I think Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, I got all into this type of television storytelling right here. So I thought this was something else. I love Fargo, True Detective, Sons of Anarchy, all these different things that are out there, The Exorcist, on television. So I was like, cool, we get to see this whole story play out on television. So it was something that I was really looking forward to. As I said, my review is up, so you guys go check it out right there. And I did say it, I think, in there. I hope I did. I think I did. I did say how the other half, the opening's great. I loved it. It's okay, even though I saw some similar things to the 2006 film. The one that hits more like the 2006 film is the second part, where I'm like, this is just kind of another like spin-off or no, it's the same thing right here, and the last is the other half kind of made it feel like kind of really cliche to everything we have seen already in this kind of genre of apocalyptic zombie type of thing already. Places are divided, governments are kind of acting shady and all that. And don't get me wrong, it was emotional. It hit me, I liked it. I think the performance, they did it well, and it was what everyone was talking about, was this performance of like of this heartbreaking scene from the video game and why I should have seen it. And I think they did well executing it and everything, and I think Pedro Pascal did great. Belly Ramsey did great. But also I didn't even know who the girl was. The I forgot her name, Nico Parker, I believe. I didn't even know who she was when I saw her, because I was like, wait, that's not from the promotion. Like, it's always Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. So since I didn't play the game, I'm glad I didn't, because then I would have known what happened. But right here, since I didn't know, I was just like, who's this now? And why is Pedro Pascal? They're supposed to be the other one. And then I got to see it. So that kind of hit me right there. So I am going to say they executed that well. But it's when the panic scene, when everything's going crazy, the day that everything just turns to crap, and they get in the car. Tommy, Joel, and Sarah are in the car. The camera is inside the car, and it's from inside looking out. We could see like the over the shoulders of I think Tommy and Joel are over the shoulder of Sarah, and the camera's inside the truck, and you could see all the panic of all the people running towards the car, which makes it's a good scene because it makes you feel the panic. You put the camera there, you feel like you're in the car and they're all coming at you. And I'm like, that's Children of Men. I mean, if you haven't seen Children of Men, there's a scene right there from 2006, and it's one of the big things of that film that's known. People analyze that. There's like ana- analysis on analysis on that film, and on YouTube there's a lot of people that break down that scene too. That was like a big scene. That's the one that I learned in school too. I didn't know Children of Men until they made us watch it in school, and we had to like learn about it, the mise en scène in it, how the background tells a story, visual storytelling and everything. There's a lot. If you want to learn, there's a lot in that film that I think it's wonderful. It really is great. So there's a scene right there where they're driving, and then they're driving the person that they have to deliver, and they're all in the car, and they're on the road, and then all of a sudden they get ambushed by a gang of people that comes towards them. That's the exact same thing that happens here. So I was like, this is freaking Children of Men. And when my friend, he was excited, so he texted me and he's like, how'd you like it? Or I texted him about it, and I told him like, yeah, it's cool. I liked it. It's cool. But one, it's cliche. The other thing is like kind of reminded me of Children of Men because of. And he's like, why? I'm like, because of this scene right here. He's like, nah, it's not from there. It's from the video game. I'm like, bro, I bet you anything I could find articles right now. I could find them either tomorrow when all the reviews are up, and I don't know if I found it that day or the next day. And right away, it's not even the reviews from the show. I found out like from something from like before, where it said that yes, this was from Neil Druckmann said he took influences from Children of Men. But for me, basically took the whole story and just moved it over here into the video game. I mean, you could just take that off and call it Children of Men. It kind of be like the same thing, to be honest with you. So I told him, I threw it at him, and then he was kind of like, oh, okay, getting that way. I told you about the other person on my social media who said, no, it's not. And I threw him that article, or the article where I saw there's an official article where he's getting interviewed. I mentioned how there's another scene that's taken from Children of Men in the HBO show The Last of Us. I was looking at stills of Children of Men because I was looking at different things of it being compared to this. And this conversation has been around a while already. I barely found out because I'm barely getting into the show. I never played the game. I wasn't into the gaming community like that. So this conversation, I found videos that are doing comparisons to this from years ago before the show even got made. So this topic's not like very that new. It's been out there. And people were smart to actually notice, and I feel sad for the people that are still in denial and saying this is original from Neil Druckmann, which I guess it's not, and it is, I guess, because he put it in a video game, but it's still taking the story like the exact same way from Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 Children of Men. So that's the issue, kind of like where I'm like, what? You couldn't just twist the things. You're kind of basically doing the same thing. And me noticing that the scene in there, it was cool. It was like a little homage. So I'm like, I like little homage, just little like, hey, I'm a fan of this director, or this movie. And then when I saw this still of Children of Men where Theo is like hiding beside a wall because he's caught in a crossfire, so I was like, wait, that scene's played exactly almost the same in the pilot episode of The Last of Us. So I go and I look at the scene from Children of Men. I'm like, yeah, it plays out like that. And I go and back to like the scene of Tess, and where we get introduced to her finally. She's getting beat up, she's tortured, she's held hostage, and then a bomb blows up, which I'll get to that, right? And then she gets out, and then she's caught in the crossfire the exact same way. Even the framing of the camera is like the exact same way as Children of Men. And it's the same kind of story right there. The same thing, the anti-government fighting the government people, crossfire. We're stuck in the middle of it. We don't want to get shot. Let's hide behind this wall on the side. So I got this like stills, these screenshots and the still from right here, these two are basically the same thing. If you watch these two scenes, they're kind of it's almost like framed like the exact same way, and the whole situation is the same thing. You know, I think they're known as the Fireflies, basically the anti-government that are in Children of Men. Let's see. Joel, the grieving father, the loss of a child. Joel and Tess have to escort a girl who is immune to the virus, who's probably like the only hope for a cure. Let's see. Children of Men, Theo and Julian, his estranged wife, have to escort Key or Cree all the way to another side because she actually was able to conceive the baby when they can't do that anymore. And she's the only hope for a cure. Not only that, it's in the future in a dystopian type of world where anything can go wrong at any moment. Again, the scene where Tess is held hostage, there's a big old bomb that blows up boom out of nowhere, which is supposed to be like, yeah, this is the kind of show we're gonna tell. That's the same thing as the opening from Children of Men. They're kind of doing the exact same thing, just kind of I'm gonna make it my version, you know. That's it. So you guys could see that comparison right there. So there's like too many like identical comparisons to it where it's basically the same thing. I mean, where it's like, is it inspiration or are you just taking like the whole thing? The virus replaces fertility, which was from Children of Men. That's like the replacement for that. I think I just saw this piece right here where I think Neil Druckmann was being asked about that. And I think he originally had a plan where it was only going to affect women. But apparently some people thought that that was misogynistic, so they didn't get to do that. If you take away the zombies, the undead, the clickers, my friend got all upset because I called them zombies, called clickers, damn it. And so if you take away the clickers, whatever, the runners, whatever the hell they're called, which is basically the same thing as zombies, if you take them away, the story is Children of Men. It's exactly the same story as Children of Men. The other thing, again, look right here, people are already comparing it. Look at this article right here where it says the Fireflies have the answer. It's showing how the anti-rebels from Children of Men are basically the same thing as the Fireflies here in the HBO show The Last of Us, which is the same story. And this is the same story as the video game. So with all this hype that I was told that this was like the greatest thing ever, the greatest narrative, and from what I'm hearing is that this narrative right here is something unmatched, that TV or film can't match it when it was already from an actual movie. It kind of makes me like just roll my eyes and all. And when I saw it, I wanted to like it. I mean, I did like it. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to trash it and be like, it's the worst thing. But as I keep finding these things out and seeing things in myself, I'm like, this is, and what I'm going to talk about next too. But to be honest, like if you take off the zombies, you take all that off, it's just freaking Children of Men. If you take off not showing the death of Sarah, it's Children of Men. You know, I mean, look at it. I was disappointed, to be honest. I was left kind of in disappointed because people hyped it up so much for me, and it's my fault, I guess, too, because I fell for it. But they're hyping it up so much for me because of the way it was being talked about all the time. And I finally, like, I don't know, it was just me like being like, yes, I'm gonna say something cool. Everyone's always talked about this game every time, like, and they say it's something so great, and it doesn't even like try to hide that it's influenced by this film. It actually just shows you straight up, yeah, we're kind of just doing a version of this version of the zombie, just kind of putting zombies in there, whatever, there's zombies in there. And I'm like, dude, you can't just do that all the time. I mean, look at this by the Globe and Mail. It says, this sense of Children of Men deja vu is only doubled when the true plot of The Last of Us reveals itself midway through its first episode, as Joel is tasked by a group of anti-government rebels with ferrying across the country a teenage girl named Ellie, who just might be the key to finding the cure. Just in case you're wondering exactly how Neil Druckmann was actually inspired by the Children of Men film. So you see, this is the actual thing that I'm saying. It's so obvious that you're taking away from it. You're not even trying to hide it. Like, you do things, you do try to say like, yes, I was inspired by it. I kind of do this bit. I just threw a little bit. You're throwing like the exact same thing where it's not even hiding it. Where a lot of us who've seen movies, who've seen Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 Children of Men, actually noticed it right away. So it was kind of like, okay, so now that I'm talking bad about it, a lot of people are upset that I'm criticizing it. You know, and that's the fan base for you of The Last of Us. Same thing as the Marvel fans. You can't trash Marvel or else you get freaking bashed on because you just did some criticism on it. And I'm experiencing the same thing with this. You can't bash it. Some people are in denial that it's not, that it's original, that it came from Neil Druckmann. Maybe him, as I said, maybe him just putting it in a video game is original, I guess. But I mean, it's no different. it also isn't breaking new ground with the post-apocalyptic, I guess. One, because it's already a movie. This version of this kind of movie's already been made. The other part, like the second half, got back into kind of the cliche of the tropes of the genre of like anything that has to do with the zombie post-apocalyptic genre. It falls into that same scenario where it's not doing anything new, but it's getting praised out there as something great, a great show on this. Can There's still being talks. Can Is this gonna change the game of the genre, the zombie genre? The Walking Dead's been on for like a decade, I think, and it just finished. And to be honest, I stopped that show after season seven, or I think season seven. After that, I was over it, you know. But there is someone put it somewhere on social media where they're like, which one was better, the pilot of The Walking Dead or the pilot of the The Last of Us? And I'm total agreement that The Walking Dead pilot is far, far better than what The Last of Us is. I mean, that pilot directed by freaking Frank Darabont, that was epic. That was cool filmmaking right there. There was just a piece on it on like last year, like in November or August. And I was glad that they put it up because that's the one thing that I would always tell people. I'm like, The Walking Dead got me hooked onto watching this type of cinematic storytelling on television. Someone recommended it to me, or I don't know if I saw it on the very first day that it came out, and I put it on, and man, that thing was so impressive that I'm like, hell yeah, I want to see more of this, you know? That was until like Frank Darabont got fired and everything, you know? So there's that whole story about that. But as I said, I gave up on it, but it's the same thing. There's nothing new. I think it's too soon to actually do it, and now it's being like, people are even saying this is way better than The Walking Dead, which hell no. In my personal opinion, I don't care whether you guys get mad or not, because I really do not agree with The Last of Us being freaking better than the pilot of The Walking Dead. Then I hear people calling this the Citizen Kane of all video games, where I'm like, you're making it sound like it's supposed to be a pinnacle of storytelling. And again, the whole thing that it's unmatched to the medium of TV and film, that no one has ever done this before. You took it from Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 Children of Men. I'm going to say that again. That's where you guys took it from. The other thing is, video games are common to do this thing. It's not nothing new. It's not groundbreaking. This has been done before with GTA, Red Dead, Halo. It's been done way before. When I was younger, I used to want a GTA film, which I don't think would be a wise idea anymore. I'm an adult and I don't think that'd probably be really wise. And I remember someone said that, or someone, I mean, no, I remember someone said to me, or I read it somewhere, and someone said, why do you want a GTA game when those are already movies? See, I came across this article right here where it says, can video games be prestige TV? And I agree with this line in this article where it says, one of the major contributions to the curse is the fact that a lot of video games are already derivative of movies. There's a thing going on there where there's, I guess, a curse of video games cannot be adapted or something like that that's going on out there. So here it is. Grand Theft Auto. This is me. Grand Theft Auto, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Scarface, The French Connection, The Godfather, Colors, Reservoir Dogs, Carlito's Way, Red Dead Redemption, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, Tombstone. These were all said couldn't be made into movies. Why? Because they already originated from movie scenes taken straight out of them. The Last of Us is no different. Children of Men, The Road, No Country for Old Men, The Revenant. If you don't believe me, you can go find that in his Twitter, or I'll show it to you here. That's Neil Druckmann's tweet right there, where he's saying, a fan is asking him what were the themes or anything else that inspired you for this. And this is what he said right here. They're movie scenes that are crammed up for the game. That's what they're doing right there. I mean, Halo already made it, but I don't know how much of Halo, if it was inspired by like a lot of movies. I know freaking Aliens and Demolition Man are one of them, but I don't know if there was a lot more of the way like GTA has it. So this isn't nothing new. I mean, I don't see where the groundbreaking, what's special about The Last of Us. So I say if GTA or Red Dead end up becoming a movie or a television, nobody better complain that you can't do that because it's already based off of movies, because it's the same situation with The Last of Us. So as I said, I enjoyed the pilot episode. I was relaxing after I watched it. I was cool. I got entertained by it. Nothing special, nothing new to me. But I was cool. Something to watch on Sundays again. And then all of a sudden, my friends, separately, two of them, send me these scene-by-scene comparisons of scenes in the actual video game. I looked at it, and the one thing that got my attention, I was like, wait, what? I look at the camera work from the video game, the direction of it, and it's almost basically the same thing you're doing here. Just for me to go and find out that there's a lot of scene-by-scene comparisons where it's basically the same thing that's out. That's the cutscenes of the actual freaking video game. And I'm like, what? Why are you doing that? Why are you just ripping off the game if the game already exists out there? You shouldn't do something like that. Just recreating this. That's why, and it's being called the greatest adaptation of a video game because it's taking the cutscenes exactly, recreating the cutscenes with live action people. That's why it's great. What I ended up saying was, if this is what they wanted, couldn't someone just stitch up the cutscenes together, put it on YouTube, and then there's the movie right there, or HBO's The Last of Us, it's right there. And people do this all the time. And I did find out that they did do it. So what I did, I ended up seeing the cutscene movie of The Last of Us. I see it, it's basically the same exact thing as the pilot. Same room, same scenario, same situation. It's all I can see is the cutscenes just being brought into live action version of it. I'm like, what? The only thing different with this is I think the pre-credit sequences, which sometimes are pretty good, and just a little changes to it. I mean, if you wanted it this way, you could have just done like an animation or like a motion comic type of thing. If it's just going to be like the cutscenes, you could see that whole thing on YouTube already. There's like 3 different versions up there that I've already seen that people put together years ago already. So if that's what you wanted, you could have just gone and seen that, or you could have gone and played the video game. Around the time when I was thinking about this, no one was mentioning what I said about stitching the cutscenes together. And then this article popped up from The Gamer, and I was like, oh, wow, look, here it is. This is exactly what I'm saying right here. The title of it: I hope The Last of Us Easter eggs don't become too distracting. The Last of Us HBO show is obviously going to lean into fan service, but you should avoid making Easter eggs too obvious. The first episode of The Last of Us was a strange viewing experience for someone who knows the game so well. It was fiercely loyal in places, right down to Sarah saying she sells hardcore drugs and even mimicking specific shots. Like, this is eye candy for these people because it's exactly the same thing. The same thing. Like, maybe if I didn't watch the pilot, the cutscenes, and I only saw the pilot, I'd be cool with it. But now me seeing this here and there, and I'm like, wait, what? You guys want this? You guys, if I was a fan of the video game, honestly, if I was a fan of the video game, I would not want it to be the recreation of the cutscenes. I think that's pretty dumb, to be honest, to just recreate the cutscenes and exactly the same. I don't think that's at all anything impressive. I would have wanted to be surprised and done something. I mean, they do say they're going to do some stuff, they're going to kind of have some creative freedom in it. And I think the episode 3 is actually going to be an episode that's its own episode, and I can't wait to see how it's received. To be honest, I'm waiting to see a bunch of people probably just being like, hell no, or some people could be like, oh, this was cool. Or someone I saw recently today, I actually saw someone on a tweet where this guy actually said, I really enjoyed the pilot episode, but I really would like it if they took away a little bit away from the actual story from the game, like not the story, but like just pop up a little bit differently somewhere else. And he said, I bet I'm the only one that wants this, even though I'm a fan of the franchise. And I'm like, I believe this guy to be a true fan right there, a true fan of TV and film, because he actually wants to be inspired. He wants to be surprised. He wants to be entertained. He doesn't want a whole replay of what he just played on the video game. Here's one from EW where it says The Last of Us can't decide if it's an adaptation or a replay. And it's talking about how it's so close to it, where it's like someone could just sit down or next to the game, the person playing the game, and just watch the whole thing as they're playing it, watch the cutscenes, So what really was the point of doing this? Now, look, I already said that I never played the game, I heard all this stuff about it. And I remember there's a part of me that, it kind of goes back to like when Roger Ebert said the whole thing about video games not being art, and a bunch of people went like and attacked him. And then he ended up doing a piece where he actually apologized because he said, maybe I should have not said certain. He still believes what he believes, but he said, I don't think it's in my position to say this. And I think it had to do with art, whether video games are art or not. For me, I think, I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that does feel like it's art. Like, I guess I have to respect it, there's like a few weeks before the pilot aired. I remember I told you I didn't play the game, but I saw this article where I didn't read it, but I saw something minimal, barely. But people got all mad because they were like, look, you see, they're not going to respect the swords. Or because someone said something like, oh, people don't care about pixels dying. Me, being someone that respects writers and all that has an appreciation for what the stories they want to tell, the way they want to tell it. And from this being told to me from a bunch of people that love this game, friends and family and all that, people out there in the world, I was like, well, that's kind of messed up, you know. I was like, can't do that. You can't just freaking disrespect them because they did a video game story in a way, like, you know. So there's a part with me that got kind of like defensive about this writer, you know. But then when I see this, I'm like, you guys didn't do anything new. You guys took it. Neil Druckmann came and said, I want to do it like Children of Men. Just put zombies in it. Let's do almost the same thing. You know, man has to take the girl with the only hope to from point A to point B. You know, she's the only one that immune to this, and I have to take her on this journey. We're gonna find out about each other. You know, I mean, a lot of people are already saying this. Some people, most people that I've been seeing, which I'm glad that there's some people that are smart, are actually already saying this story is very predictable already and where it's going. Like we've seen this so many times already, you know. And I think Children of Men actually executed it well because it's a masterpiece with all the things it's doing with visual storytelling. A lot of things in there that you can learn from, whether it's the cinematography, the mise en scène, the directing, the editing, the sound, the music, and everything, you know. So that's great. But here, I mean, you kind of just coming off as a kind of like just slow kind of rip off of it, you know? I mean, that's nothing. I'm not trying to trash Neil Druckmann, you know? I'm not trying to like say, no, you stole it from him. I mean, he kind of did take it from there. But what I'm saying is like a lot of people, a lot of video game people have done this already. As I said, GTA, Red Dead, Halo, they've done this already. So Neil Druckmann is no different from what they're doing, you know? But I don't know. It came out to be something so special for people that me and I'm surprised. I'm like, even right now, I'm thinking, I don't know. I still don't. I know that the big part that was it was the beginning, and people are saying the way it ends, something like that. And these are the only two big parts that were the big thing that people made it out to be as the greatest video game narrative ever told, or you know, a story that has never been told that no one's ever got close to. But I'm like, no. So I can't. I don't know. It's just part of me is actually thinking of like I gotta probably actually play the game to see what was so special about it. Now I did see some things recently where it said that the characters looked real. They looked like real humans. The way the world looked was nice, and from the scenes that I see from the games and all that, yeah, it looks nice and everything. I'm just upset that it's freaking exactly the same thing, just recreated in live action. The buildings out there and everything, you know, I could understand those things, you know. But I haven't played the games in a while. I don't know what kind of games were out there, and then how this one came and looked and everything, you know. But I said people actually respected it for that too. Now I understand that we as fans, we care about the source material. I care about the source material, but I know when you're going to TV or film, you got to do it a little bit differently. You got to tweak some things. I would want it to go the same probably, but not this way. This for me is a problem because it's being praised as a breakthrough or something, and I'm like, this is feels like someone pointed a gun at your head and telling you do it exactly like the video game, do it exactly like the 2006 film, do it exactly like that, and don't you dare move. So it seems like more like they're scared of the fans, you know, to be honest. It's more scared. And I said, I don't know whether I should switch this, but I've been saying that this is something that should have been promoted as for fans only, for fans of The Last of Us only. That's what I thought it should have like been promoted as, because it seems like it's just for them, catering to them and all that they want. A recreation of the cutscenes. Come on, man, really? And for it, there is nothing artistic or creative in doing that at all. You already have a script. The other thing I'm gonna get to is the dialogue in there is not that great. It's not at all like big time great. And you know, even last episode that I saw, episode 2, I saw a scene with Pedro Pascal when I think with the character of Tess and what happens, and he's saying he gets angry and says, "No, we're going home" or something, or "No, we're done." And the way he like, I mean, one, I could say Pedro Pascal does have kind of a little accent, and I could say it was probably that. And I'm like, why does it feel so like monotone? So like, I don't know. I go and I look at the cutscenes. They're using the same damn dialogue of the freaking video game. Why are you doing that? It's like you just gave the script of the freaking dialogue from the video game to the actors, and you're telling them, "Hey, say this word that the character says exactly like that." You're staging them the same way. You're setting up the same thing. It's exactly the same thing as the cutscenes of the freaking video game, you know? And that the dialogue is just kind of like, I was like, I didn't even feel it. Like, I felt like for me, it sounded weak, to be honest. Nothing against him, but it seems like he's not given something. You know, as a director, you're supposed to kind of build the scene with the actors, the actress, try to talk about it. Right here, it doesn't even seem like they're doing that. It seems like they're just trying, we're just gonna rip off the video game and do it here. We'll just take a look at the cutscene and then we're gonna do the exact same thing. Yeah, he's right there on the couch. She's right there at the window. So go do that. Go do the same thing. Yeah, all right. Let's see the thing. Storyboard is the cutscenes. Let's do that. You're not supposed to do that. As a director, you're supposed to like bring the mood and everything. You're supposed to stage it and everything. I mean, this is so, I don't know, this is something so where I don't think it should be counted as anything artistic, breakthrough, or creative at all. There's no critical achievement in doing this at all. Now, look, I'm not telling you to go bash The Last of Us because I said this. This is my personal opinion. I feel like it's just a disrespect to the medium of television and film as being called as a breakthrough when you're just ripping off the game. You're not letting a director actually direct or work or stage the scene or anything. Having them talk about the moments, the things that they're going through. This was already done kind of in the game, but this is TV, and if it's a film, it should be done the same way. I mean, the only reason it's probably like this is because Neil Druckmann is part of it. Craig Mason from Chernobyl, which was a great show, one of my favorites, and I was glad that he was on board with this. I was like, I have confidence with him. But it seems like he's just. I thought the first episode. I thought the first episode was directed by the Neil, because I was like, well, it's basically his game right there. And I find out it's Craig. I was like, Craig, why would you do that? Like why? Why I wouldn't do that. I would be like, I would look at a script and see how to actually direct it, see how to stage it. Maybe I would look at the video game because I know people are very protective of that. I'm protective of some source material, but I'm not gonna be like freaking make it exactly like this, exactly the same way. And if you do anything different, I'm mad at you. You killed it, everything. Yeah, I understand that sometimes we're like that. I'm like that too, where people were. I don't disagree with people when people say they shouldn't deviate from the source material. I don't disagree with that. I think they should stick close to it, but not as close where it's like freaking putting my head to the book or the game and be like this. No, man. I mean, come on. I mean, look, there's a part where I could say I'm probably like contradicting myself. If there's something about this being as a breakthrough in television and film, and then the whole unmatched, it's it's unmatched to like TV and film. It annoys me, to be honest. As a fan of film and TV directing and screenwriting, I think I really think it's kind of disrespectful in a way. And I don't think it's anything that should be creative or artistic. I didn't like Sonic the Hedgehog. I said that the first one. I didn't like it because it didn't have the spirit of the Sonic games that I played. And I read a lot of articles. I got trashed because I said that I didn't like it. And people were like, you just like trashing it because you just like to trash. And in this day and age, you can't criticize anything or bring constructive criticism. Yours isn't valid, nothing. You can't do that with anybody. You're a bad guy. You just want to be an angry grump and all that stuff. So you just get bashed that way. But I think this is a problem. I like Sonic 2 because it actually brought the spirit of the game back. They didn't, but I don't think they went and got the cutscenes from Sonic 2 or a video game of Sonic. I didn't think they caught like the little storytelling scenes of the video game, put them together and made a live action of that. I think they still focus on tying a movie, got a writer to tell a story. The directors worked with the actors, the emotions of the character, everything. They got to build that up. They did it themselves. They didn't just rip off the scene from the video game that we used to play, exactly the same for it to be called the greatest adaptation of a video game. No, I don't think they did that. So you see, I mean, and I've been seeing so I'm actually been waiting for someone to tell me why I'm really wrong. I really want to see if someone can tell me why I'm wrong, because I'm open to it. I want to see maybe I'm wrong, I'm hypocritical, but there's something about it that just doesn't feel right to me. Really, there's something about it that doesn't feel right. I mean, look, Watchmen, directed by Zack Snyder, I liked it. I know some people don't, but I actually really liked it. I have the novel, I read it. And I was wondering how he was going to work with it, because I could tell when people were saying that it's not going to be what do you call it? It's not something that could be made for film, but I really like the tweaks that he did, and I'm not sure if it's because it still was close to Alan Moore's storytelling, and Alan Moore is a great writer. So I don't know if it's because of that it worked for me, that I liked that writing. I liked it. The same thing with, what was it? He did Watchmen. He did 300 too. I think 300 was Frank Miller also. But he shot it like a movie. He did try to take the panels from the comic and do it the same way, but something about it was more cinematic, and the story was great. So maybe the problem here is probably the story. It's just that was original from Frank Miller. Watchmen was original from Watchmen. I mean, Alan Moore's story from Watch that story was from him, and that was his. But Neil Druckmann's The Last of Us is not really original, to be honest. You're taking from some other film and putting it in there the way video games do. So I think that's the problem. Also, you took a narrative that was already out there and you put it here. You just threw some zombies in it. So I think that's probably the issue. And as I said, the dialogue's not that great in the show because they're just doing the exact same thing from the game. Maybe I can say maybe for the video game, maybe it works. But for television, when you're just copying the same lines from the characters from the cutscenes, I'm like, I don't think that works. I mean, Nolan. I like Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. I mean, he freaking Batman Begins. He didn't rip off. He didn't make it exactly the same as Frank Miller's freaking Batman Year One. He didn't make it exactly the same, but he kept that tone, that spirit, what it was about. The beginning days of Batman. His start. That's what he did. The Dark Knight was the Long Halloween. He took that whole theme of the trio, Harvey Dent, Lieutenant Gordon, Batman. They're all three friends, and the tragedy that happens, which is why Nolan called it like a crime epic and kind of a tragedy, and it is a tragedy, and he still kept that. Like, it's not exactly the same from the panels of the freaking Jeff Loeb and Tim Sal's freaking graphic novel or comics. It's not exactly the same. But they kept that spirit, that tone of what it was, the story was trying to tell, but they made it in a movie type of way. They didn't just freaking copy every exact same thing, and if they did, I don't know, maybe because they're good writers, it would have worked. I mean, I have the animation. The animation one was kind of a little bit it kind of plays around with it too. I got Batman The Long Halloween Part 1 and 2 and the last one. So you see, right, no, none of those did what The Last of Us is doing, recreating the exact same thing that's in the video game. If you're gonna do that, might as well go play the video game. Go on YouTube. I mean, look at this from Slash Film. The HBO adaptation is at times a painful, accurate recreation of the games, right down to specific shots and camera movements. It can often feel like just watching cutscenes from the game stitched together, and that may be what some fans were hoping for, but it's when The Last of Us deviates from its source material and tells its own original story that it truly shines. So look, I came across this article last night because I think I pissed off a few people. I'm like, man, these guys are so precious, so protective of The Last of Us. Like, you can't say nothing about it. So I went and I typed in some things that might show me people that weren't fond of the game and aren't in agreement with it being a masterpiece and all that, because I'm like, these people probably make more sense to me than the other ones do. And I found this article right here that says, this is by Epilogue Gaming. It says The Last of Us is bad, actually. A look at games immune to criticism. And oh boy, is The Last of Us immune to criticism, to be honest. I know, as I told you, a lot of people are tripping out on me. And here are a few lines that I like from it. When people see substantial critique levied at works of arts that they love, there is a non-zero chance that they will angrily lash out at you. I have to misunderstand this work to idolize these characters is the problem. A nerve of sensitivity within the Last of Us fan base. You cannot criticize a game like The Last of Us or its sequel and expect to get away with it. Even as it flagrantly recycles tropes, themes, and motifs from the genre, it felt fresh, and because of its then unique implementation as a video game. That is, maybe The Last of Us can borrow from its direct film roots without looking like a copycat. It did, in fact, and receive innumerable awards as a result. As it unravels, starts to underscore the fact that The Last of Us didn't use its medium interactivity in any artistically interesting way, even if it borrowed its otherwise remarkable plot and characters. You see, and this is one line that I like from him. He says, even where we disagree. This is an article that was talking about, I think, The Last of Us and mostly Last of Us 2. I have not played any of the Last of Us games, and I have not. So I kind of skipped through when I started noticing it was kind of doing a little review on the game. I try not to look at it, and I try to read where it got personal, where the person writing this himself is talking about what he wants to talk about. And because again, it says the title kind of got my attention because it says The Last of Us is immune to criticism. So I wanted to see what and he's kind of bringing in someone else's analysis on The Last of Us 2 and 1. And he's kind of talking about like what that person is saying, how he feels, and how we're in a world where it's toxic on Twitter, toxic with the fan base. So basically these lines that I said, but this is the one thing that I like. Even where we disagree, I feel like Burford always teaches me something, and that's the kind of gaming discourse that, unlike most of Twitter, is worth salvaging. It's known that people hate critics. They don't know that their job is to criticize. That's why they're called critics. And a lot of people get upset that they just bash things. Sometimes I get upset with critics because I'm not in agreement with them, but I'm not going to say, let's get rid of all critics. I actually like critics. I like my work to get critiqued. I write scripts. I got to send them to my friends or professors and all that, classmates, and they got to read it. They got to criticize it. What works, what doesn't. I like this. I don't like this. I don't think that's going to work. And it kind of opened my eyes to things sometimes. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? You were right. That was wrong. That kind of sounds stupid, or I should have not done that. Or yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't connect with the story or anything. It has nothing to do with it. I think it helps people become better. And so some people can't take that. Some people don't want, they just want to, nope, close my ears, close my eyes. No, you can't talk smack. You're dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. This is good because I liked it. And if you don't like it, but I do, then you're wrong. All this type of stuff out there in the world, you can't even criticize anything. And as I said, this is turning into, I didn't know that the Last of Us fan base is the same thing like the Marvel films, where you cannot talk bad about Marvel. That's the same thing I'm getting here. I'm like, wow, it's here too. Like, I just said something on one of the people I follow, and I said something on there, and then someone just went and said some stuff, like seemed like they got mad. And I still don't think they understood what I was trying to say either, but they seemed like they got really upset, saying something that the gamer, be happy that gamers and non-gamers can celebrate, and that's it. So what? Because of that, I'm not supposed to criticize it. I should just be happy because gamers and non-gamers come together to watch this. But what? It's not supposed to get criticized or anything. I already said what the flaws are in this. It's not original. It's not groundbreaking. There's nothing new to it. It's the same thing we've seen so many times. It's from another movie. The other thing, you're just wasting time. A lot of money. This show looks like it has a budget. It looks like it has a budget, even though you can tell there's some things that are kind of like not really there, but still it kind of looks nice to look at times. But it seems like it has a budget. They got great actors, great performance, and they're wasting it on recreating the damn cutscenes, which it angers me, to be honest. And for it to be praised, applauded as this what it's saying that it is, I'm not in agreement with it at all. Right here it says, but more than that, changes like these make the story feel bigger. The Last of Us is a fantastic game with a powerful narrative, but it is focused on just the two main characters you play as. In the medium of TV, however, there's an opportunity to go beyond just Joel and Ellie and to tell a story that's both epic and intimate. The live-action adaptation can show us the impact of the apocalypse on the rest of the world, revealing how different people acted during the initial outbreak and survived through it. Which we're kind of getting that with, I guess, the pre-credit sequence of episode 2. But we got to see more, and that's why I'm waiting for the other episodes to see. So far, 2 episodes are no good for me, and that's a problem because there's only 9 episodes, and 2 are already like just not for me because of things I found out and things I've noticed and things I've already seen and experienced. This continues on. It's cool to see The Last of Us feel exactly like playing the game, but even better is seeing the show take its own path, grabbing what worked from the game while adding its own take that works better on TV. Video game adaptations are a dime a dozen, but as we get more and more of them, filmmakers and creators should remember that faithfulness doesn't automatically make for an interesting story. So guys, that's my issue with the show, the video game The Last of Us. As I said, I don't know, maybe I should play the game. I kind of want to because I really want an answer to why this is looked at as something big and epic, to be honest. I really want to know why. I don't know. There's something about it that I just don't understand. And I really would like someone else to say something that I haven't heard before where I could understand it, But from what I've seen so far, I'm very disappointed and I'm not in agreement with this being some kind of creative art or something groundbreaking for TV. The adaptation of video games this is the way it's done. I really don't think it counts at all. And I think it's a waste of money, a waste of time when you could have done something better with the money that you have, the budget that you have, and the performances that you have, everything that you put together to be more creative instead of just repeating what you did in the video game. So I am looking forward to the episodes that aren't like this, which, as I said, I don't know how the fans are going to take it, but I'm interested. I already heard that there's going to be some little references to like Children of Men, so that'll shut up people already to be like, it has nothing to do with it when it's being referenced inside there. So guys, I think that's my video of me discussing my problems with this so-called Citizen Kane of video games, The Last of Us. If you guys enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, Thank you for watching.